good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are around the world again, and welcome to today's third USA LLM Festival session. Today, we've already heard from the likes of Case Western Reserve in Cleveland. We've just heard from Delaware and Widener University. And now it's the turn of Suffolk University in Boston, Massachusetts. So just before I hand you over to Bridget, a reminder that this session is a live recorded session. If you're watching on social media today, which I know many of you will be, or if you're watching on the Zoom or you're watching on demand, please use the Zoom or the chat facility on that platform. If you're watching on social media, please use the message facility. We'll endeavour to get back to you as soon as possible. And if we don't, we've got your details. We'll reach out to you. Everyone that's registered, your details will be passed over directly to the law school. They will reach out to you at a future point. So if you have any questions or concerns or issues surrounding any of this session, please raise it at that point. But without waiting too much longer, I'd like to hand you over to Bridget Sandusky, representative of Suffolk University Law School. Bridget, if you'd like to come on at this point, I'm going to share your screen, have a presentation, and then we're going to come back at the end for a Q&A. So I'll leave it with you for the time being.
So let's first start with our location. Where are we? Suffolk University Law School is located in Boston, Massachusetts. So that's right on the East Coast. We're the largest city in New England, the 24th largest city in the United States. And oftentimes we're voted even the best college town in the United States because we are a city of universities. There's over 50 colleges and universities in the greater Boston area only. And so what does that mean for you? Well, it's a wonderful place to come and study because it's a city of young people, of young professionals who start as students and then continue their career paths here right in Boston. And Boston has a really interesting history because we are an older city for U.S. historical situations, and that we are the start of the American Revolution, and you see that beautiful fall foliage picture that we're heading into, and cobblestone streets, these lovely brownstone buildings. So really picturesque city, but it's also a really interesting, innovative, exciting city. We have we're the recognized global hub of the life sciences industry. There's lots of startups here, and we have everything that you would expect to find in a world-class city, from amazing restaurants, really outstanding museums that we have, a live music scene. There's something for everybody to do. And if you like sports, have we got a sports team for every season here in Boston. From here in our bottom photo here, you see the New England Patriots, which is the professional football team. And they are going right in front of Sargent Hall, which is our law school building. And so whenever they have won the Super Bowl, then they do the celebration parade and they go right by. In fact, I have a front row seat right out of my office, a window that you could probably actually almost see right here in this photo. So really exciting, and we have one for every season. And the last thing that I will note is that we're a really green city. So we have the first public park in the United States is directly outside of Suffolk's doors. It's the Boston Public Garden, and the Boston Common is, as I said, it's a wonderful place that you, in between classes, you're able to go and take a walk, explore the city. We're a bike-friendly city. We have lots of green space. It's just a really nice environment for students to come and study with us for a year. So, and the law school, as you saw, because the Patriots go right by it, we are right in the heart of the city. This shows you in downtown, that green space there is the Boston Common. And here is a really wonderful quote from Alex. And I had an opportunity to meet up with Alex on a recruitment trip to Brazil. And he is in São Paulo. He completed our LLM in global law and technology, where he earned two specializations, one in international law and business, and one in intellectual property and information technology law. Um, and Alex currently works for Oracle, so one of the largest international software companies in the world, and he is their head of legal there. And so when I had an opportunity to catch up with him over dinner when I was on my recruitment trip, he shared just how important and instrumental Suffolk's LLM program was to his current career success. He goes, every single day, Bridget, I am utilizing something that I learned, knowledge I learned during my LLM program at Suffolk Law School. So whether or not I'm reviewing contracts, I'm dealing with employment issues, I'm dealing with intellectual property issues, he goes, not a day goes by that I'm not drawing upon that knowledge that I learned during my LLM program. And if I didn't have my LLM program, I know I wouldn't be where I am today. And for me, as the assistant dean of graduate law programs at Suffolk, that's really powerful. And it's these types of stories that I'm going to continue to share with you. But first, for lots of students that are starting kind of on the path of understanding what's the difference between an LLM program, and you may have heard the word about a JD degree, where does that follow? And so I think it's to kind of have a broad overview of what's the US educational system in comparison to what a typical international educational system might look like. So in the US, we start off and we have 12 years, and that's their secondary or high school. And then we proceed to go to a bachelor undergraduate degree, which is typically 4 to 5 years. So this is where I was in international relations and political science double major. So you can, specialize into, hundreds and hundreds of different majors that are available. And then it's at that time that you apply and decide to go to law school. So I am an attorney myself. I graduated with that degree, and then I decided to go to law school afterwards. So that is a graduate degree. And that is 3 to 4 years, depending on if you're going full-time or part-time. And then the LLM comes into play because that is a postgraduate degree in which students, if you're a full-time international student, typically you complete it in 1 year, maybe a year and a half. And if you're a part-time student, it could be upwards of 3 years. So a great deal of flexibility. And then the pinnacle degree that you would have, and Suffolk does offer, is our Doctor of Juridical Science. So this is that PhD in law that you might be looking for, particularly if you want to return back home to your country where you're hoping to pursue an academic career. And so that would be the type of degree that's kind of the path that we would do as a US person like myself, what I did coming to law school. Versus for many of you, not all of you, but the vast majority of you tuning in with us today, you would complete your secondary school over 12 to 13 years, and then you go into your Bachelor of Laws degree for the most part. So you are immediately jumping in and specializing and choosing law as what you want to be. When you grow up, you want to be a lawyer. So you're 18 years old, and this is what you're saying you want to do. You do that right away and complete it within 3 to 5 years. And then you can pursue an LLM degree. So it would be at that point that you would say, maybe it's part of your bachelor's at your university, so it's kind of connected. Or you decide, I'm going to go to the United States. I'm going to go and look at the different programs that exist for me to specialize, to differentiate myself from my other colleagues or peers that graduated from law school with me. And so that's often a very good reason of why somebody wants to come and pursue an LLM degree in the United States. And your other paths, because you have 2 red arrows there, so your other path after an LLB, you could go and apply to a JD degree. So that would be similar to what I did. That's the same 3 to 4 years. Sometimes you can get some advanced standing with that. So to decrease it from 3 years to no more than it must be at least 2 years. I'm happy to chat about that. That's another conversation. Today we want to focus on the LLM degree, but it is an option for you. And then lastly, after the LLM, you would be eligible to go and pursue a Doctor of Juridical Science if that is something that is of interest to you. So there are so many different LLM programs in the United States, around the world. And so how do you end up choosing? So let's tell you a little bit more about Suffolk, who we are, and why you might want to consider applying to us. So we're a large law school faculty. Um, Law faculties in the United States tend to be on the smaller side. So you might have a law faculty that might only have 300 or 400 students in it, for example. We're not by far not the largest, but large, I would say, at just over almost 1,300 students. We have over 70 full-time faculty. So full-time faculty means that is their job, is to be your professor. And at Suffolk, we are incredibly lucky in that our faculty members, not, they're nationally known scholars in their field, but first and foremost, they view themselves as teachers. And our faculty are really special in that way because they they want to have LLM students in their classes. They view it as an opportunity to really reflect of this is the world that we live in today. So having a diverse set of perspectives is, a welcome thing at Suffolk. And our faculty are readily available. So we, have purposely designed our law school building to promote informal interactions. So our faculty members' offices, I'm in a faculty office, our offices are on the same floors as the 2 floors where your classrooms are. So I will regularly run into an LLM student on my way to lunch, coming back from a meeting, and so do faculty. So I think that's a really nice you can get to become a little bit more familiar with individuals and get to really know them on a personal basis, and in doing that. And we have over 100 adjunct faculty. So because of our location being in the heart of the city, we are able to draw on some amazing practicing lawyers and judges. And so the faculty members, they will be lawyers by day or judges. We have several judges who routinely teach at Suffolk Law School. And typically they'll be teaching an evening class. For example, we have one of the justices on the Massachusetts Supreme Judicial Court. So that is the highest court in the state of Massachusetts. He regularly teaches either evidence or trial advocacy. And it's not because he needs to. He obviously doesn't need to. He does it because he loves it. He says it makes him alive, and being able to come into the classroom and to teach students and to really lend his expertise in helping you learn how to be an effective oral advocate or how to understand evidence, which is such a critical subject. So we're really, really lucky because of our location allows us to bring in these really excellent high level adjunct faculty members, often also to teach specialized subject areas. And so an international text course or international IP, for example. And then we have a low student faculty ratio, so 1 to 10. So a very excellent faculty student ratio. And we have law alumni around the world, over 24,000 that you'll find all around. And because we're a larger law school, one of the wonderful aspects of that is that we can offer so many courses. So we offer over 200 elective courses every academic year. So what does that mean to you? It means that in a given semester, you are able to choose from 100 courses, and that's my job. So I'm here telling you about our program. I interact with our students as during the application process, you would be hearing from me. But once you decide to enroll at Suffolk, I become your dedicated academic advisor. And so I get to stay with you through the entire journey. And then you heard already from one of our success stories, Alex in Brazil, and then still remain connected with you after as alums of Suffolk Law School. My job is to take you from 100 courses to about 4 in a semester. So we sometimes you have ideas about what it is you want to take. We work together to make sure we're fulfilling what your career goals are. What objectives do you want to take a bar exam? Do you want to specialize? It's all about a one-on-one personal conversation and mentorship. And then two other things that we're really proud of, and you'll see not once but twice, the only two times that they've actually voted with numbers instead of letter grades. We were voted the #1 best law school for legal technology. And so this is an area of expertise that Suffolk has developed. And I think it's really important in this up and coming world of dealing with all sorts of different technology issues and how they intersect with law. So, how can we better serve our clients? How can we be better and more efficient attorneys? And from Suffolk's perspective, how can we help and do a little bit good in the world? So our students actually develop applications, smart applications that you download on your smartphone, to help solve legal issues. So some of them do this work, which is, you know, incredibly impactful because they have developed an application for individuals to learn about what are the rights and obligations in landlord and tenant relationships. And so individuals can take out a temporary restraining order in a domestic violence situation. They can file it and they walk through this form step by step. So, really making an impact and helping individuals that need legal assistance. Not providing legal advice, but this is walking them step through a form. So, great work that they're doing. And it's often highlighted, as you can see, as the #1 best law school. And we are the only law school for 8 years running now that routinely has all 4 skills specialties ranked in the top 35 in the United States. And so when you think about what characteristics do you want to find or that you look for, somebody that you would say, well, that person is an excellent attorney. You might say it's because they're a hard negotiator. You might say it's because they have excellent legal writing skills. You might say it's because they are an effective oral advocate. And those are all areas of specialty in which Suffolk has been voted not once, not twice, 8 years in a row in our legal writing program is routinely in the top 5 in the United States. Our dispute resolution program, our trial advocacy program, and our clinical training. So we're doing a lot of great work here at Suffolk. And you see a quote here from Spurdy talking about her experience with faculty members. Spurdy completed an internship during her LLM program in the second semester, our curricular practical training. And then from there, she used that as a jumping board. She went there for OPT, and then she was sponsored for an H-1B. And she has since now, she's passed the bar exam. She's gone over to a variety of different companies. Currently, she's at HQO, where she is the VP of Legal. And so that's a highly regarded software and customer service solution company. So we're very proud of Spurdy and all that she's accomplished. A little bit about Suffolk University. So the facts and figures from the slide before were just about the law school. But we were founded in 1906. So we're over 100 plus years old now. And we're made up, as you said, we're actually a really international law school, university. So we have almost 1,000 international students from over 100 different countries that are represented at Suffolk. And we currently have 2 campuses. We have one, our primary campus is here in Boston, Massachusetts, and then we have a secondary campus in Madrid, Spain. Why now? I think if you're joining us today or if you're watching this recorded later on, you already know the answer to that. The world is changing. The world has changed. And for you to distinguish yourself and be a better prepared attorney, wherever you are from, you know you need additional knowledge. You know you need additional expertise. And so we offer, and it's that clashing of cultures. So everything, the internet has blurred, what used to be, you could say, oh, that's really domestic or local law versus what is international law. That's blurred because you used to say family law was local law, for example, or real estate. Not anymore. It really is. People marry people from other countries. People have children. People get divorced. People, buy, and property in another country. And then so all of these transactions need attorneys who are well versed in the knowledge of that local law and having a global understanding. And so that's why it's so important. If you were already thinking about that, you've kind of already made that decision. Um, it's really important for, I think, for our future and for our future lawyers to be able to have a global perspective. And I think that's what we have to offer here. We'll do a little bit of photos. We do have truth in advertising. We definitely do have snow. So these two pictures, the beautiful fall foliage picture and the snowy, that building that you see is 7 stories tall, and that is Sergeant Hall. So that is where all of your law school classes will be held, will be in that building. And so it's all really convenient and accessible. All of the underground system started for the United States. It started in Boston. So you can expect that we have a pretty good subway system in place. It's called the T, and all 5 subway lines are all within a couple minutes walk. I take the bus from where I live. It's reliable. It's safe. I travel on public transportation regularly with my young daughter. And so it's how most students, faculty, and staff get to the law school is by using either their, riding their bicycle if they want to be doing that on our dedicated and protected bicycle lanes. They're taking the bus, trolley, subway. So there's a wide variety of different ways for students to reach Suffolk, but they're all really close and nearby for you to get to there. And then this is part of the public garden, which is attached to the Boston Commons, so another beautiful space for you to explore. And then that's the Charles River, which separates Boston, Massachusetts from Cambridge, Massachusetts. So you may have heard about the Charles River. You can, if you've never learned how to sail, you can go to community boating and you can learn how to, that's a picture of people on community boating, and learn how to sail while you're here. It's a very sort of quintessential sort of Northeast Boston thing to do. And as I said, you have lots of different programs to choose from, hundreds of different programs alone in the United States. And there's new ones being developed all the time. And so why should you consider and decide to apply and ultimately enroll at Suffolk? I say it's what we call the Suffolk difference. And one, first and foremost, is our location. In Boston, it's going to provide you a lot of different opportunities for you to be pursuing an internship during your LLM program or doing optional practical training, which OPT, which allows you to stay in the United States up to 1 full year afterwards. And this is, as I'm talking, students that are on an F1 student visa. That's the student visa that most of our international students would be arriving to Boston on. The fact that we offer 3 different degrees, our LLM in global law and technology, our general LLM, and then if you're interested in the intersection of law, business, and science in the global hub of the world for the life sciences industry, then you might be interested in our Masters of Science in Law Life Sciences program. So if you are, get in touch with me afterwards and we can talk more about that. And because we're both a full-time and part-time LLM and JD program, you have a great deal of flexibility in regarding course times. So if you are a morning person and you like to get to classes right away, we have classes starting at 9 o'clock in the morning until 10 p.m. at night. Now that flexibility becomes really important if in the 2nd semester, you decide you want to pursue an internship, because your internship, host will want to have you work during the day, presumably. And so that if you don't have the opportunity to take classes at night, it makes it really difficult and challenging to do that internship while you're doing courses at the same time. So you don't have to worry about that at Suffolk. You can take more of your classes at night instead of during the day. Or if you like, that's when you like to sleep in the morning and you're an evening person, then you can take your classes at night from the very beginning. That's up to you. A great deal of flexibility. You can custom design your program with my really expertise and a mentorship and guidance. We would work together and custom design a program that's really going to suit your own individual career objectives and goals. And then you can start in a traditional start date, which is fall, would be at the end of August. And then we also have a spring start date, which really isn't spring, it's January. But you don't have to wait. So if something happens, you can defer and start the next semester instead of waiting a full year. You can wait just a couple of months. So that can make a really big difference for some individuals. We already talked about the sheer number of elective courses that we offer every academic year. And then the always incredibly important question that I get will be about LLM scholarships and if they are available and if they are available for international students. And the answer is yes and yes. So every single application that we receive at Suffolk is automatically reviewed for merit-based scholarship potential. So you do not need to submit any special forms, provide, another essay or other financial information. It is a merit-based scholarship, and the highest scholarship award that we give is a generous 50% of total tuition costs. So this is in a good many, I would almost venture most of our admitted LLM applicants will receive some level of a merit-based scholarship. It might not be 50%. It might be our lowest award goes down to about 20%. But the majority of our admitted students receive some level of scholarship. And then we have specialized career services. So you say, how do I get this internship? Do you have anybody who can help me? And besides me, I'm part of a team, but we have our professional and career development office. And so 2 individuals within that office primarily work with our LLM students. So they will make sure your resume is a US legal styled resume, and there's a difference. And they will review cover letters. If you're not great at interviewing, they will do mock interviews with you. And if you're not great at networking, they'll teach you how to network, and they offer networking events. And in fact, we believe so strongly that all of our students should be doing networking. We provide every single Suffolk Law student free membership to the Boston Bar Association and to the Massachusetts Bar Association. And so the Boston Bar Association, their office is literally a 5-minute walk from the law school. And you can join all different types of section groups. So if you're interested in IP, you join the IP one. Young lawyers, you join that one. One for foreign attorneys, join that. Business, human rights, you name it. And this provides you a way to get to meet local attorneys who are practicing in the area of law in which you hope to practice. So excellent networking opportunities, different events that they host. And I tell students, go to these all the time. It's so important to network during your LLM program, whether or not that's at Suffolk, which I hope it will be, or anywhere else. Like that's some of the most important advice that I can give to you. And then lastly, as I said, at Suffolk, you are eligible to do an internship in the second semester for curricular practical training, CPT. Not all LLM programs have that as an available option. So for some individuals, they have to go right back home after they complete their LLM degree. They can't stay and participate in the optional practical training. Maybe they have to go back to family, they have to go back to their job that they took a leave of absence from. If you can't do that, having an opportunity to take what you're learning in the classroom and applying that in an internship experience is a really wonderful thing for you to have as an option. And here you'll see, this is a picture. You can see that's the Massachusetts State House. So that is the heart of the government for the state of Massachusetts. And that is, it's gonna sound silly when I keep saying everything's 5 minutes. It literally, it's probably less than 5 minutes, 3 minutes, because you just walk up the block. It depends how fast you walk, I guess. And here is a nice quote from Marty, who is from the Philippines. And Marty, when he was in his second semester, he did CPT, and he worked at a mid-sized Boston law firm. A law firm actually that was run as an alum of Suffolk Law School. And so our alums do like to give back as well, which is really nice and wonderful. And Marty, just here in his quote, I'm not going to read it to you, but really learned so many important skills that he took from his internship experience and brought it back home with him. And during his time at Suffolk, he also, besides his internship, he was a research assistant in which he co-authored a practice pointer with one of our faculty members who's really a renowned expert in global law and global IP law. And so Marty had that as an additional opportunity that he pursued. And he really enjoyed that so much. When Marty went back home, he was still in his law firm, but he also started teaching at one of the local Filipino law schools. And then he was an expert consultant for an environmental agency about irrigation and waterworks. But since that time, Marty recently, as of now, I think January will be 2 years, he became a judge in the Philippines. So really proud of Marty and the career path that he has taken. Here are some photos inside of the law school. So that where it looks like it's a courtroom is every year it's a courtroom for a motion docket, but it is one of 3 courtrooms that we have for our students to learn to be those excellent oral advocates. So if you take a simulation skills building course like trial advocacy, that class will be capped at no more than 18 students, as it is with all of our skills building courses, such as transactional skills, legal writing, negotiation for lawyers. Those are all going to be capped at somewhere between 12 to 18 students. Because to learn a skill, what do you have to do? You have to be able to practice it. And it's difficult to practice a skill when you're there with 70 other students, for example. And then the other picture is when you're coming into the law school from outside. You're walking into this 4-story atrium. We call it the Great Hall. And you'll see my office is actually right over here in that corner on the 2nd floor. But it's a comfortable space. It's modern. It has artwork on the walls, comfortable seating areas. And so it's a really beautiful place to learn and want to come and study every day. And Victoria, after she completed her LLM program, she has now since she is one of the 4 corporate senior officers for TravelX, which is the international currency, the foreign exchange company. And so she's the secretary that does all of the legal work for this international foreign exchange company. And then here's a picture of our classroom. So this is a larger styled classroom, which it starts to become tiered. And then this is a picture of our main reading room. And then we have lots of other different studying areas. The law library, and it is only for law school students, is located on the 6th and 7th floor of the law school. Hythe, when he did his CPT, he worked at the Federal District Court in an observation program there. He has since returned back home to Saudi Arabia, where he has been a faculty member teaching there for quite a few years now. And then the other great part of being at a larger law school is the sheer number of student groups and organizations for law school students. At Suffolk, we have over 40 different law student associations. So this is another way for students to network, get to know your other colleagues, get to know more JD students. You'll get to know the LLM students very well. but you want to increase your networking, get to know other people. And oftentimes they're going to be bringing alums back on campus. So if you're interested in human rights, you join the Human Rights Association, or you join the Women's Law School Student Association or the International Law Students Association. There's a different student org for every type of interest that you might be interested in. And if there isn't one, you also have the opportunity to start one. So get involved is what I tell students always. And here you'll see a really wonderful picture from our graduation last year. And it's an international picture. Justin that represented, I see Flaviano from Brazil, Guillermo from Panama, we have Ankit from India, of course, with his Indian stole, we have Roberta from Italy, and we have Rup from Vietnam. So a really international cohort of students. We have had students from over almost 70 countries in the past 19 years. And Suffolk was tied 11th in total percentage of international students in the United States. And so that's Suffolk University, not the law school, only that's the university in total. And because we have that designation, because 13% of our total student population are international students. So you're a really important part of Suffolk University. You obviously have lots of opportunities to meet and interact with American students, but you also will be here with lots of other international students as well. And so the LLM in Global Law and Technology, we were named just this year, 2023-2024, a top LLM program for attorneys. And so that is based off of the depth and breadth of both services and curriculum that we offer to our students in this specialized LLM degree. There's over 85 designated LLM courses within this degree. You will always, as an international student, you will always take our U.S. Law, Legal Reasoning, and Writing course in your first semester, and then either in the current semester or in a subsequent semester, our legal writing for graduate law students. And those are only for international students. So it provides a really safe, welcoming, warm environment for you to ask any question. I always tell students there are, they'll say, oh, well, it's a silly question. I was like, there's no silly questions. If you're thinking it, for sure someone else is thinking it. But then all of your other courses will be with other JD, LLM, exchange students, PhD students. So you're not segmented into only with LLM students. So you have 2 courses designated just for our LLM student population, but all of your other coursework will be, you might be the only LLM student in the class, or you might have, 4 or 5 LLM students in the class with you. Depends on the types of courses that you're choosing. And then what makes this program, this degree special, is its different specializations. So there's 4 different areas in which you can concentrate in. So international law and business, IP and IT, U.S. law and legal methods, and biotechnology and health law. And so those provide, you can earn up to 2 specializations if you decide to enroll in the LLM and global law and technology. And then we also have our Master of Laws, our general LLM is also known as, and you get to choose from the entire curriculum. And I will really help you and kind of guide you to make sure you're choosing the courses that are going to match to either if you want to take a bar exam, for example, to gain eligibility for the Massachusetts or the New York or the California bar exam. I will help with you in helping to select courses that are going to be a good fit for you. Or if you're not interested in that, but you want to focus on an emerging area of the law, we would custom design this Master of Laws, the general LLM, to suit your own individual career goals and needs. Again, you're taking the U.S. law course for legal reasoning and writing and the legal writing for graduate law students. But all of your other courses, you're going to be able to pick and choose and design how you see fit. And then here, since it's an often asked question, I will just briefly highlight because typically someone will want to know a little bit more about this. There's two different avenues for you to be gaining eligibility to take a bar exam. Anybody that has graduated with a JD degree, so that's the first degree in law in the United States, they are eligible to take any bar exam in the United States. Versus an LLM student, you're asking special permission from that local state's board of bar examiners to take their bar exam. And so we are licensed. I'm licensed in the state of Connecticut. I'm not licensed to practice law in the United States. It's state-based. It's not a federal licensure. So each state is going to have their own specific rules. And so we will have students that might want to take the Massachusetts bar exam, and they have their own particular rules versus New York versus California. There's a handful of states that allow foreign educated attorneys or foreign educated students the eligibility to take their bar exam. Not the majority of states do not, but Massachusetts does. And then the all-important application requirements. So you've heard everything about Suffolk so far, and now you go, I want to apply. What do I need to do? There's an online application fee, an online application and a $60 application fee. Our priority application deadline, so there's still time left to apply for January of 2024. That application deadline is October 15th. And then if that's too soon for you, we are going to be starting to accept applications for our fall start date, August of 2024, and that deadline date is May 15th. We have basically, if you're applying to one school, you're submitting very similar types of materials to complete your application, a personal statement, which sometimes I think is one of the most challenging aspects for our international students who haven't really had the same experience in writing personal statements to get into college and university, for example. Usually 2 pages is sufficient. Don't go much more than that. Make sure you always spell check. So another key advice for any LLM application that you're submitting, spell check, grammar check, and then lastly, make sure you have the right school name in your personal statement. You'd be surprised at the number of applications that I might receive that have a personal statement and they reference one of my other colleagues' LLM programs. We don't hold it against you, but you really should make sure you double proof. And then a current resume or curriculum vitae, 2 letters of recommendation. Again, lots of questions. Should it be from an academic, a faculty member? If you're just graduated, I'd say yes. If you graduated 10 years ago, I'd say no, unless you've maintained a really close relationship with your faculty member, then I would expect them to be from, individuals, the legal work that you're currently doing. So other attorneys or supervising attorney, typically that would be more expected if an individual has been out of university for a period of time. Obviously, official transcripts. And we don't have a set GPA. That's why it says average. So there's people that obviously have very high GPAs, and there's some people that have lower GPAs. And at Suffolk, we really take and review our applications in a holistic way. And that one thing isn't going to lock you out. We know everybody has different life circumstances. There's different stories. Maybe you had a rough start, or maybe a rough middle, or end in your law career for a reason that you want to share with us. And so I would encourage that for you to do that. If there's a reason why your GPA might be a lower GPA, maybe it's because you worked 2 jobs at the same time as you were doing law school, or maybe you were ill. So the more that you might share, that can be helpful for an application. And then if English is not your first language, or you didn't complete your law degree in English, you also must prove that you have English language proficiency levels. So we accept TOEFL, IELTS, and also Duolingo. And then lastly, if you still need to be working on your English language skills, we do have the Into Suffolk campus. And so that is, we have 2 different pathway programs. And so it really adds on an additional semester. You're already starting to take LLM courses. You're earning LLM credits at the same time as you're completing some English language proficiency. courses. So you're getting sort of that additional extra boost to continue to work on your English language levels, but at the same time, you're still making progress toward your LLM degree. So completely optional. I put that out there as because some applicants are interested in that sort of opportunity. And then lastly, here is my contact information. You can book meetings directly with me using my You Can Book Me link located below, or send an email to me at llm@suffolk.edu. Goes directly into my inbox. It's just easier than you doing my first initial and last name. So I hope that this has been helpful for you. And I look forward to hearing some questions from you now, Gareth.
Bridget, thank you so much. I'll let you take a bit of a breather. It's a long time to talk, and I really appreciate everything you've been through. So thank you. And I'm sure everyone watching will appreciate the detail you've been into there about the law school where you guys are based. So we're just going to spend a few minutes now, 3 or 4 minutes, just a few questions that have come in so we can answer them before the 50-minute cutoff time. If we can start with what makes Boston such a great place to come and study and live at. It's one of those places where, you know, we're from the UK. We know Boston as a great place to live. And one of those places where it's quieter, it's not as busy as New York, let's say, and other cities in the USA. Is that true? And is that a fair reflection of what international students say to you when they come over?
Absolutely, Gareth. I think when I ask on recruitment travels or meeting with an applicant, have you ever been to the United States before? They routinely will say, I can guess. It was like somebody's going to say New York, California, and Miami. Rarely, or sometimes they say Boston, but usually those are the top three. And I say Boston is human scale. So we're not New York. We don't put ourselves out there as New York City. There's nothing quite like New York City. But for me, I like to go and visit there. I don't like to live there. So it is, Boston, I think, does have a little bit more of a European feel associated with it, with, you know, sort of cobblestone streets, these old lovely brick buildings. As I said, it's a historical city, but it really is a city of young professionals. So we have everything that you would expect in a world-class city, but it's also you can walk across Boston. And so it's really not that large. So you can get to really know it very well as too. So, and it's really close. So if you want to go and visit New York on a weekend, you certainly can go and do that too.
Excellent. Another question that's come in, and I know it's kind of been covered in a presentation already, but I think it's important to talk about, is the opportunities for future, for your career, really, for any LLM students that come over to Boston, study there. You know, I see it as a great place to come and study at. I see it as a wonderful opportunity with great links. What future opportunities are there for LLM students once they have finished their masters or finished their LLM?
Well, as a student on an F1 student visa, they can participate and apply for optional practical training. So that allows them to stay in the United States up to 12 months and work and receive compensation. It just must be legally related. And so that might be that you're working at a law firm. It might be that you're working on a legal organization. Maybe you're working at a startup. Maybe you're working at a bank and with Foreign Corrupt Practices Acts, things like that. So it really depends upon the particular student, their prior expertise, language abilities. And as I tell students, you really need to see, what is it that makes you special? So once students can what do you bring to the table? Why should an employer think about hiring you versus someone else? Once you have that kind of figured out, it makes things much easier, and you can be really targeted in the types of opportunities that are going to be a good fit for you.
Super. And the final question, because we've had a few questions come in, which is great. A lot of it has already been asked and answered, I think, during the presentation. Now, if anyone watching is concerned, we've got to keep within the time constraints. We will reach out to you. We've got your details. I'm sure Bridget will reach out to you in the coming days. There's a couple of questions. I want to focus on one that came in, I think is a very good question in just 1 or 2 minutes, Bridget. They'd like to know if there's an LLM program that allows for the LLM to JD transition process. And if that is the case, how long does the JD take afterwards? Do you offer that? Is that an opportunity available?
So we don't have that formally, but informally, we have students that have done that. So you still need to apply to the JD program and be accepted. And this would go for any other LLM program that would offer an LLM first and then a JD. You can get some advanced standing for your LLM credits that you have completed. For us, and I can only speak what we do, you have to have a certain grade. It means it was that you've passed the course and that it was open to other JD students. So your US law, your courses just for the LLM students wouldn't carry over to the JD. The most that any law school can give is 1 year. So that means a full-time program going from 3 years to 2 years. That's an American Bar Association rule. Yeah. So you're going to definitely be doing at least 2 years of a JD degree after you complete your LLM.
Like you say, that's pretty standard for the person asking that question. That isn't just unique to Suffolk or anyone else. That is across the board. So, you know, you can do it informally, like Bridget mentioned, but, you know, always ask for advice. You know, Bridget and other members of teams all the way around the USA are there to help. Bridget, thanks for your time. I really appreciate that. It's been a fantastic session. Really insightful. There have been some questions, so everyone that has asked the questions will get the opportunity to be reached out to in the coming days. But thank you for your time, and I really appreciate your presentation and your efforts there. For anyone else watching, that is stay tuned. Thanks for joining. The next session will be with the University of San Diego School of Law, and then we move on to tomorrow, where we've got 4 more sessions, 4 more webinars featuring Brooklyn, Emory, Washington, St. Louis, and Chicago Loyola. But for the time being, thank you, Bridget, and we look forward to seeing you again in 2024. Thank you.